Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Deb Sofield, and you're listening to my weekly podcast series called Encouragement for Your Life. Most of you know I'm a national speaker, trainer, and coach. I like to say I help people find their voice and learn to use it. I'm also a conference speaker on the topics of public speaking, presentation skills, how to deal with the media, and crisis communication. I've got a number of other presentations on my website if you'd like to check those out. If your organization has an upcoming conference and you need a keynote speaker, I hope you'll reach out at debsofield.com. I would love to be a part. I've got a number of great books on the market. My best-selling book, Speak Without Fear. My book, Perfecting Your Platform. Both of those are on Amazon and Audible if you like to listen to books. And my series, Encouragement for Your Life, which is a compilation of these podcasts, they're available on Amazon, volumes 1 through 3. Just go into Amazon, type in my name, Deb Sofield, all my books will appear. I've got a great show today, and it's one of my favorite topics, and I'm calling it Start Waiting. All right, I'm Deb Sofield. Stay with me. Let's get started with today's show. Okay, so I need to make sure my southern accent doesn't mess this up. The word I'm saying is wading, like you wade into a creek. I just thought I'd add that in there. Because when I was a child, there was nothing I liked more than to wade into cold creeks and look for crawdads and frogs and salamanders and other creek life. Then we started taking our summer vacation to the Isle of Palms on the coast of South Carolina, and my creek became an ocean. Back then, the island was row upon row of summer beach homes, not the spectacular ones you see nowadays. Our beach bungalow was easy to recognize since we were very close to the famous, and I put that in quotes, island house called Tickled Pink. And yes, it was bright Pepto-Bismol pink. Pretty sure my brothers would have died if that's where we had stayed, but alas, we stayed in a neutral colored home nearby. One thing I'll always remember is that when we went down to the beach, because I was pretty young, I was not allowed to go very far out into the sea without a brother in tow. No, my ocean domain was the shallow side to wade into, to cool off and then go looking for treasure, shells, and sea life. I can remember year after year telling my parents that I was ready to go far out into the water with my float to pick up sand dollars on the sandbar. And each year I was told I had to wait. I hated waiting. Finally, I was old enough and a strong enough swimmer to be set free to go wherever I wanted to go, and go I did. I rarely looked back to the shore when I was exploring. I had finally been set free from waiting and pushing past the shallow wading pool to jump full body into the surf, and I was thrilled to have the opportunity to explore the sea on my own. Of course, my parents were on the shore. You and I know a lot of people who have spent years of their life just waiting on the shore, looking at the vast open ocean, but rarely being comfortable to dip or even wade into the cool, salty water to refresh their soul and maybe set their path. I love the play on words today's message, which is stop waiting with a T and start wading with a D. So I have to ask, what are you waiting for? What is it that you are waiting on before you can take the next step for your future? See, I don't think much is going to happen if you keep waiting on the shore of life, only thinking about the possibility of opportunity. At some point, friends, you need to consider how to start wading into whatever it is you've dreamed about for so long. Success is only going to happen when you make some movement in the right direction of your dreams. And if you make a move and it's the wrong move for you, then by all means wade back out and start again. So you get a little wet. You'll dry off in time. Remember, nothing is more disappointing than not trying. I know you hear this message a lot about moving in the direction of your dreams. I admit, I write about this topic often because I believe in it. I also know many times we let it go in one ear and out the other because we all have really great excuses as to why we can't do whatever it is we've been thinking about doing. You know, sometimes it's fear that is keeping us where we are. Sometimes it's financial. And sometimes, I'll just be honest, it's the lack of energy to do one more thing. I fully understand that's just the way things are sometimes. So, with that understanding, hey, let's agree that timing is important. But waiting a lifetime, that's a bit too long if you want to accomplish your dream. Perhaps you should put a deadline on your idea and walk back the dates of when the goal needs to be accomplished or at least met, and then slowly start waiting towards your endeavor. For some, the fears I've listed go pretty deep when we think about financial loss, fear of ridicule, fear of the unknown. I admit those are real and they're valid fears. For some, there's a good reason to stay on the shore and not wade into the water just yet. But my concern for you is at some point, the waiting will grow old to make you forget your dream. I have a good friend who would like to run for office. She is smart and well educated, has a good job, great connections, and I fear that in 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, she's still going to be talking about running, but most likely will never make the jump. Why? Because she is someone who likes to know what's going to happen next. No wading into the water without the promise of victory. While she waits and waits and waits for the right seat, the right time, the right issue, the right whatever excuse she's hiding behind this week, she will continue to talk shop in politics and can opine with the best of them about what should be done to save the planet. But to put herself out there is probably not going to happen because of her fear of losing. I've told her many times, most of us lose a few races. I've lost plenty and I've won plenty more. But losing actually, in a weird way, makes you stronger for next time. And with a well thought out campaign and the right team, victory is as assured as it can be. All she can do is her best and make sure she knows where her votes are coming from. What will most likely happen is that while she's waiting, someone else is going to wade into the race and win and hold, quote, her seat for the next 20 years. Listen. Waiters have a better chance at winning than waiters who tend to, you're just going to wait. Hey, listen, maybe politics isn't your dream. Perhaps it's more personal, like deciding to start your own business or leave a company where you are to find a job that's maybe more to your liking. Many friends of mine would love a different job, but the fear of leaving the gold handcuffed job that they have and not trusting and networking to find the job they desire really is what's preventing them from wading into the job pool for something they would enjoy doing daily. Let me share a quick story with you. I'm often asked to meet with friends of friends who tell me they want to be a national speaker. So occasionally I will meet and hear their story and their dream of being a rich and famous speaker. And then I ask a few questions about what are they willing to do to reach the top? What message they have that the world needs to hear? How are they marketing themselves currently? And some basic questions that anyone would ask a friend who came to them and said they'd like a new life and career. All right, hear the weariness in my voice, friends. I can't begin to tell you how many good, honest, kind people dream of being on a stage and yet are unwilling to wade into a little cold creek with the banks of safety on either side of a meandering stream to pursue their dreams. Friends, you got to start somewhere. And what better place than your community, which knows and loves you? That's when I see the blank stare of realization that they can't or will not leave their current job to travel and speak, or even give up their weekend. Their message is nice. It's not anything new. They tell me they have no time to market themselves, or they tell me they don't know how. Worst of all, they will, after prompting, admit they're actually afraid to speak in their hometown. I'll never forget a very kind man who told me he felt led to be a men's conference speaker. So I asked the basic questions. Hey, do you have a current talk that you could give? No. He had not written one and was worried that he was not a good speller. Okay. Do you have a group in mind that might call you to be a speaker? No. He was hoping I would give him names. Had he spoken to any group of any size for practice? Again, the answer was no. And with each following question and answer, he gave a negative reply. I gotta say, I wish I could tell you these were unusual occurrences, but they're not. Most everyone who has told me their dream has not been willing to wade into the surf. Their fear of being knocked down by a wave, stepping on a sharp shell, or worse yet, being eaten by a shark is more real to them than following their dream. Most are waiting to be miraculously plucked up by someone who they met in line at the grocery store and handed a microphone and a ready-made audience so they can, well, actually, I'm not sure what they're going to do since they never wrote a speech, found an audience, or ever spoke to more than 3 friends at the office. All right, don't hear this as Deb being mean, snarky, and unkind. Okay, well, maybe just a little. It's not meant to be that way. I'm just relaying the stories that I hear from earnest people who are waiting for life to swoop down and unbelievably hand them a golden ticket to stardom and success. They think that since they're camped out on the shore, staring intently at the water, that somehow that's all the work that is needed to be successful. No need to get wet when hoping and wishing might bring that golden opportunity. Successful people know that sometimes you have to be willing to get soaking wet by wading into the water to see what treasure is under the surf that you've been looking for, praying for, working for. You know, the old line is still true. Sometimes you got to put hands and feet to your prayer. And I'll add, you might want to put on a swimsuit and goggles. Hey friend, if there's something you want in your life, consider my thought for today. Please stop waiting and start wading towards your goal, dream, or opportunity. Don't worry about the surf and the sand or sharks, because once you've set your eye on the prize, swimming comes easy, and treasures abound. So, I want you to start waiting today. All right, I know it's a little bit of a tongue twister, but I have to admit, I've always liked those 2 words together, and I think it makes perfect sense. Our friend, you've been listening to Deb Sofield's encouragement for your rock star amazing life, and I hope you'll join me next week so we can continue the journey together as we work towards a better day. And I want you to remember this, Deb does not care what the world says about you. I care about you. And I care about you because I believe some listening, you can do big things, but you have got to stop waiting and start wading into the water to understand how the current works. And here's my promise. I will walk alongside you as we follow your dream together. All right, have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for joining me. Join me next week.